Hey there, planners. Today I am setting up my reference notebook for 2021. This is probably the most foundational element of my planning system, and I'm going to walk you through how I'm setting this up and what this is and how I use it as part of my planning system. So with that, go grab your planners and let's get planning. So not that long ago, I did a video on my reference notebook, what this is and how I use it. And this is my reference notebook from 2020. I keep it in the back pocket of my Stology A5 bullet journal, and it is where all of the permanent collections and spreads go that support my planning system. So I came up with this solution a while ago. I've been bullet journaling for many years, and one of the things that sort of frustrated me about bullet journaling is I would go through multiple notebooks a year, which meant that some of the core spreads that I used over and over again, like brain dump triggers and, books to read in a lifetime, future logs, things like that, I would have to keep writing over and over again in each notebook that I would set up, and that just felt so inefficient to me. So I came up with the concept of using a reference notebook as a supplement to my everyday bullet journal planner. And this became sort of over time a core element of my planning system. This is where I keep all the information that I'm going to use for the entire year, and in many cases for multiple years. So when I think about my books to read in a lifetime spread, that's a lifetime spread, right? So I will keep that forever. I am making a few changes and adjustments, adding some things, and getting ready to set up the new notebook, reference notebook, for the year 2021. And so I thought I would film this, share this with you because it is such a core element. And when we think about setting up a planner for 2021, this really is where the bulk of my setup occurs, because this is really the foundational elements of my planning system. So I am going to be setting this up today with you and walking through exactly what I'm including, all of the printables, spreads, things like that. To start with, you can see this is a pretty plain notebook. So this is actually a traveler's notebook insert. It comes from Amazon in packs of 3. They're really handy. They do have dot grid paper, which is perfect to fit in the back pocket of my Stology. So how I use this notebook is I just pop it right back here, and then it's available if I need to use any of my reference spreads. And I will keep it there, and as I go through new notebooks or set up new notebooks, I will continue to keep this constant in my planning system. All right, so this is pretty plain looking on the front, and I do want to add just a little bit of decoration, but honestly, it's not going to be much. I want to keep this as basic as possible because, really this is the most functional part of my planning system. So I'm going to add just a couple stickers to decorate the front, but really keep this pretty simple. Now, as I go through the year, I may find more stickers that I want to add in just to give it a little bit of decoration. I like to collect, stickers. I struggle because actually the proper word would probably be hoard stickers, but I'll add some more as I need to, but really this stays pretty functional for me and not so decorative. I keep the decoration more for the inside of my bullet journal. So I'm just adding the year and a little decorative sticker down there. This awesome tool that I'm using is a glue pen. If you have not seen this, I do have a video with a pin haul where I pick this up and talk more about it. This is just the most awesome tool. Anyway, so that's really it. I'm going to leave it pretty simple and get right into the setup on the inside. All right, so the first thing I'm setting up on the first page of my reference notebook for 2021 is a year at a glance. And this actually is a year at a glance, was a free printable from Lovely Planner. I'll have that link down below. And she actually has many versions of this same year at a glance with different fonts. So I want to say there were more than 10 different versions of this with different fonts. So if you're looking for a great printable, if you've ever taken the time to draw out these calendars, oh my goodness, that's a real exercise in patience. And white out. But this is a great option for adding this into your planner. It's fantastic printable, and it is free. So all you have to do is sign up for the email newsletters, and you can get that for free. So I'm going to go ahead and get this taped down. All right, so to get this down, I just used the permanent adhesive Tombow Mono and, tape this in. This will be useful for me because I'm thinking this year I might actually use this for cycle tracking, just by coming in and highlighting the days. That way it's not just for reference, it's also got a purpose, and that's something I need to track all year long. So that's how I will use this, and that starts off the reference planner. The next spreads that I'm going to be putting in are a special dates spread, which this again is a free printable. This is from Planner Squad, and it is a freebie. I actually had to cut it down quite a bit, so I ended up, I wanted to make sure I continue to reference where it came from, and so I cut out the name that was down here at the bottom and just taped it back up here. But this is Planner Squad freebie. It's fantastic. Planner Squad actually has a great library of free printables, and the way I plan to use this is for any of the holidays, days off work, things like that, special days, birthdays, all of that stuff will go in here, particularly those holidays that are on different days every year. So I really want to track that in here. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this down. All right, so there's the special dates insert in here. The next insert I'm going to add is similar. So this is actually from Power Sheets, Cultivate What Matters. It's a free printable from their site, and it's a perpetual calendar. And it's just got January, February, March, April, each month listed with some lines. The way I'm going to use this is as a future log. So I rely heavily on future logs, and I've actually got a video on how to use future logs as part of the bullet journaling system, and I'll link that up above. But I don't know how you can successfully use a bullet journal without having a very robust future log as part of your system. Because if you think about it, future logs allow you to capture any planning items, dates, appointments, to-dos, actions, things like that are out into the future. And when you're using a bullet journal or the bullet journaling system, you have a blank notebook. So you're setting up the months or weeks or quarters as you go, and you don't necessarily have the ability to flip over to 6 or 7 months ahead of time like you do in a traditional planner to capture action items or to-dos or things you need to remember for those future dates. That's why a future log is so important, and I really rely heavily on my future log. It's one of the most referenced handy tools I have in my bullet journal. That's also why I want to keep it as part of my reference notebook, because I don't want to have to repeatedly set it up. And so I'm going to be putting these into the next few spreads. I will say the difference between the perpetual calendar, which is really my future log, and the special dates. So in the future log section, I plan to capture appointments, doctor's appointments, meetings, action items, to-dos, things like that. Special dates are really about holidays, celebrations, anniversaries, birthdays, things like that. So a little bit different. And one of the ways I kind of look at this separately is these are typically all-day activities, whereas these might be a specific time or a specific action item that I need to take. So I'm going to be setting that up on the next few pages. All right, so I've got the perpetual calendar or the future log set up for 2021. It takes 3 pages, and you'll see I have a blank page here. I am planning to leave this blank because this is really going to be a brain dump area for 2022, which I know it seems crazy to even think about that right now, but the years are flying by, at least from my perspective. So I'm going to probably come back at some point in time and put a header on here, but I do just want to leave this blank page, particularly as I start to get to the end of 2021. I will need the space to be able to capture 2022 items. All right, so the next items I'm going to be setting up in my reference notebook are all of my planner process reminders. So I've got quarterly and monthly tasks. I've got weekly and daily tasks. I've got guidelines for how I set up my monthly planner and guidelines for how I set up my dailies. And these change occasionally, particularly the daily and monthly, as I try different things. So I will just tape these in, but no, I create these in a Word document and save them so that I can come back and change them as I need. So if I decide, you know what, I actually need, I don't want to use dailies, I want to use weeklies right now, I can come in and change that very easily. So I'm going to be putting these in, and I'll kind of talk about them as I'm putting them down. All right, so this first spread is a checklist, kind of a tickler list of quarterly and monthly tasks. And this really helps me when I have set up my planner for a month. I come to this list and I make sure that I have any applicable items actually scheduled in my monthly calendar. So for example, working on my Power Sheet goals, which is my goal planner from Cultivate What Matters. If you want to learn more about that, I'll put a video up here above and also listed down in the description box. Making sure I include my Word of the Year activities. I have monthly declutter task, and so I will pull those in and make sure they're scheduled. Updating some of my other planners, things like cleaning my makeup brushes, cleaning out the coffee maker, changing the air filter. So these are all just kind of triggers to help me remember what I need to put in my monthly planner. The same thing is true for this list, which is focused on weekly and daily. And this goes from everything from gratitude log to weather tracker, grocery shopping, setting up the next week, when are the paydays, when are the garbage days, do the kids have something special going on at school that I need to grab, when's laundry time, all of that stuff. I've even included fun things like, are there any movies or new Netflix shows coming out that I want to make sure I have scheduled time to binge watch. That's important. So anyway, these are just references. Now, yours probably would not look like mine, right? Because you have your own items that you want to make sure that you're tracking, but this is so simple to make in a Word document. You just make a text box and start listing out the things that you want to make sure you remember to do on a quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily basis. And this makes a great reference. So if you think about it, I've got it in the back of my bullet journal. I keep this reference notebook in the back of my bullet journal. So when I go to set up, a week, I'll just pull this out and flip to the weekly task and make sure that I am capturing those items in my weekly setup to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. So that's how that's used. Okay, these next two are actually the physical logistic process of setting up my planner for the month and for the daily pages. And these change frequently because I, probably once a quarter want to switch things up, and I'm always looking at what is a more effective, efficient way to do things. If things change in life, what would be a better way to handle this from a planner perspective. And so I'm actually just going to tape these in. And I'll show you how I use this once I get it taped in. But by using tape just to pop these in here pretty simply, this makes it super simple to change out if I decide I want to do something differently. So there's the monthly planner setup, and you can see I've got all the preparation activities. So for example, pick a theme for the month. If it's a month where I want a theme, gather the supplies, which includes paper, washi tape, stickers, any accents, scissors, glue, all that stuff. Print the inserts and tip-ins that I want to use. And so this is a list of, right now, all of the possible inserts and tip-ins that I would like to use in my monthly setup, and I like to get them printed ahead of time. And then for the actual setup, it's tipping or taping in all my printables, checking my future log, which I just set up here for any events that happen in that month, checking birthdays, looking at the previous month to see if there are any unfinished tasks that need to be migrated over, looking at my goal planner and pulling in any activities from there, looking at the family calendar to see what's going on in their lives, and then pulling in any monthly declutter tasks. So that is setup and preparation for the month. I have the same for the daily setup, which I'm going to take the same methodology. I'm just going to tape this in. And again, this is for ease. If I decide, hey, I want to change up the setup for my dailies, I just come in here, pull it off, print a new one, and use that. So it makes it really easy to change out, but still I don't have to keep rewriting it, because if you think about writing this in your actual planner, instead of in a reference notebook like this, you could end up rewriting this many times or using a lot of whiteout on the page. So for daily planner setup, I have preparation, printing or gathering stickers and all the accents, all the supplies that I like to gather, and then actually how I set up the daily pages. And I do set up daily pages on a weekly basis. So I'll go for the week ahead and set up all the daily pages for that week. So these are super handy. I come to these frequently, and again, just being able to pull this reference notebook out of the back of my bullet journal, set it over here to the side, and be able to reference these is really handy. All right, this next spread is my brain dump triggers, and I have a video on my brain dump process, and I'll link that above. And I will say I have had a ton of requests to share this actual printable. I made this printable myself. It's based on what I use for brain dump, and it's very specific to me. I made it in Microsoft Word and printed it out. I change it every now and then. So I don't really have this available in a format that I can share, but I will tell you this is so simple to make. And there are some printable brain dump trigger list out there that you can search for and find printables. But I'm just going to tell you this is the easiest thing to make in the world. Just as long as you have some sort of Word document, document application or template, you can make this for yourself, or you could write it out. What I have here is questions that I ask myself, look ahead items, to-dos, typical to-do items, things associated with my house, financial things, ideas, just in general, and then a whole bunch of others so that I can write in. And you'll see I have empty boxes so that I can continue to add to this and update the actual printable itself when I have a chance. But the way I use this, I have a much longer video on my brain dump process, and that's down in the description box below. But when I'm setting up the month in my bullet journal, I will pull this out and just use this and go box by box to help me remember all the things that I need to make sure I get into my planner for the month. So for example, what needs to get done? What needs my time and attention right now? How am I feeling? Is there anything that I need to work on or address in that space? Are there any graduations or promotions? What do I want to cook? What do I want to clean? So these are all just prompting triggers to help you remember to get the things in your mind out into your planner and on paper. I hope this is helpful for you, and if you want to learn more about this, please go check out the brain dump process video. That really goes into detail about how I use this. And again, there are a lot of sample trigger lists out there that you can get ideas from, but I really think the value is in creating this for yourself, because you know what type of reminders in your own life that you need to remember everything to get out of your head. All right, these next two are two printables that I pulled right out of my 2020 reference notebook to move right into my 2021. So this first one is a printable, and this comes from momenvy.com. It is a planner printable sizing chart. And what this tells you is if you have this type of planner, the inserts are this size for that planner. And if you want to print it, if it's something that is letter size and you want to print it to fit the insert in your planner, you print it to this percent. So for example, I have an A5. The inserts are 5.8 inches by 8.3 inches. So if I have something that's letter size and I want to print it to be able to tip it in to my A5 planner, I need to print it at 68%. What I will say is this thing is so handy. I reference this all the time. I come back to this because I use several different types of planners, from traveler's notebook, standard size, which is down here. There's just a lot of ways to use this in my planning system. So I reference this quite a bit. I'll say the percentage is about 90% accurate. Every now and then I find that I need to scale up or down just a bit, but this is a fantastic guide for printing printables. This other one is my ultimate packing list, and I have a video on, packing list and how to prepare for travel in your bullet journal. I've had a lot of requests for this packing list. I don't have it in a format. It's something I made in a Word document. It is absolutely everything that you would ever need to take with you on a trip. It's way more than any one person should be taking on a single trip unless you're going away for months and months. But what I'll say is I don't have it in a format that I can really share, but I think it's really valuable to make this list for yourself. So I just spent some time, the way I made this, I spent some time looking at previous packing lists I had written out in my bullet journal. I also did some research and just, searched for packing list ideas, pulled a bunch of stuff in there, and then I just walked through my house and I said, what else do I need? What else would I need? And the purpose of this is that everything you would ever need to pack is on this list, so that it makes a great reference to actually create a trip-specific packing list. So I'm going to tip this in and I'm going to tape this down, and those are going to be my next two spreads. All right, the next pages I'm going to be taping in are my Lifetime of Books list. I have one for nonfiction, and then I have 3 inserts for fiction. So I have room to add some more, and you can see I just come in here and I highlight them when I've actually completed them. These really help me make my book reading list through the year from a goals perspective. And one day I'd like to read all of these. Do your own research on this and create your own list, but it's fantastic if you just don't know what to read and you're looking for ideas to have these lists. Most of these are classics. Some of them are newer, but most of them are really classic books. And I love just making my way through this. I have been keeping this list for a really long time, and you can see I've made some progress, but there's a lot more to go. So I'm going to be taping these down. Okay, so now I've got my Lifetime of Books list. Here's my nonfiction list, and then I have my fiction list here, and I have room to add some more if I'd like to, but I will just continue to come in here and check off books. Hopefully I'm going to make some more progress in 2021. 2020 was a great year for reading. Lots of downtime, not being able to go places on the weekends and in the evenings. So I actually made really good progress this year. Next spreads I'm going to be adding, and the last spreads I have to add today, are my 30-minute or less declutter task. So I actually have 12 of these, 12 lists, and they are focused on certain areas of my house. This is the living room, the kitchen, downstairs bathrooms and closets, upstairs bathrooms, master, just different areas of my house. I made these myself because, as you might have seen if you've watched any of my Plan With Me videos, I was trying to use predetermined or I was trying to use template declutter list, and I was getting frustrated because I just found that not all of them applied, and to have a list where I can't actually check everything off drives me crazy. So I went through each room in my house and just made, and the goal here is to keep these, 30 minutes or less, so that I can tick off, 1 or 2 a week, or as I have time, just be able to squeeze this in. And I made a list of things to do. So for example, for upstairs bathrooms, grabbing the rugs and towels and throwing them in the washing machine. That's a very quick activity, and it's one of those declutter cleanup tasks. I pull from these, I try to pick one area of the house each month to focus on and knock off these, this list of declutter tasks. As I go through that month, I actually put them in my planner so that I have scheduled time and a reminder that I wanted to get that done. And I use these as reference to pull from as I go through the year. So I'm going to go through the process to get all of these actually taped down in my reference notebook. Okay, I've got all of my declutter tasks set up, and you can see I've just gone in here and kind of slap tape down on them because I know, if I want to update this notebook next year or the following year, I'll just come in and pop these out and move these over so I don't have to keep printing them. But they are great for a reference. And that actually completes the setup for my 2021 reference notebook. You're going to see me using this a lot in future plan with me's. I'm actually excited to get started using it in January for my January setup. But this is really, I wanted to share this because when I think about setting up a planner for 2021, this is the core backbone of my planning system. And this is where I get, a lot of my information from. It's where I put the most important information that's going to last more than a single notebook. And I use it a lot when I am setting up months, quarters, years, weeks, days, all of that. I pull it out and reference it. So I hope that you have found this video helpful, and then it gives you some ideas for how you might want to set up your 2021 planner. I would love to hear in the comments below, do you use a reference notebook? What is the core backbone elements of your planning system? Those elements that you just could not live without. I'd love to hear that in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know. And as always, subscribe to Plannin' Annie for more content like this. Thanks for planning with me.